Let's fight. A very good evening to each and every one of you guys. A very good evening to each and every one of you. And we are grateful for wherever you're joining us from at home here in Guyana, in the diaspora, whether that's the Caribbean, whether that is for the north, whether that's for the south. Let's fight, guys. Welcome in the ring. Good to have each and every one of you. We got a lot of stuff to get through. A lot of folks are going to be stopping by and sharing their views on several issues. Good to have all of you here with us already. Some of y'all are waiting. Comments coming through. Keisha Millington, Onessa Ward, Dean Fidel, Nakam, Longhorn, Onessa Ward, um, again, Binker Peters. Y'all are waiting. Y'all just there. Y'all just there. Good to see each and every one of you guys. We got a lot of stuff to get through. And tonight you're going to get so much information. I know that when we're done, you guys are going to write a check to In the Ring and say, I'm going to take that. It was worth it. Tithes and offering. Good to see you guys. Good to be here one more time. It's Unplugged Tuesday, and I'm certain some of our guests are going to unplug on some folks. Sukchan Sudhari, good to see you guys. Guys, share the live stream. Don't let us wait tonight at all. We were so grateful last night. Guys, I was so heartened last night by all of those persons who shared the live stream. I can't lie to you. I was particularly heartened when I went back at the end of the show and was listening and reading some of the comments and having a chance to respond. I was so very heartened by all of that. And those of you joining us from Barbados, South Carolina, Elizabeth Narayan joining us there from South Carolina. I see Denise Williams joining us from Barbados, Brendan Norton from Brooklyn, George Braffett, Vibert White, June Peters, all of you guys joining us from around the world, guys. Good to see each and every one of you. We got a packed program tonight, a packed program. If you blink, people, you are going to miss something tremendously. And if you only blink, you are going to miss something tremendously interesting. Guys, I am so happy again to have each and every one of you with us. I'm ensuring that we are shared all the right places as well. And we invite you guys to share the live stream. Guys, share the live stream. Again, really happy to have all of you guys, making sure that we are good to go on all fronts. Don't think we're taking left. We're sharing too. We are sharing too, folks, a couple places. So good to see all of you guys. All of you guys, wherever you guys are joining us from. Jean Bond and Aubrey Stevens, Marcia Griffith, Diane Fordyce, Sharon Griffith, Selena Fraser from Toronto, Canada. Good to see you, Selena. My pal, Selena there. Esther Mel and Facebook user, doesn't have a name. Alia Waldron. You see this one, Alia? Share problems. Y'all watch and see. Alia and I gonna fight before this thing is true. Watch and see, guys. I'm trying to share the live stream as well. And again, so good to see so many of you guys. You know what you gotta do when you come on. Don't let's waste time. If we got 500 emojis, I want to see 500 shares as well. Don't let me waste them, because y'all know. Don't let me tell y'all. I would fight all of you. Right? I would fight all of you. Don't take things for granted at all. At all. We can come to place. Fight. Guys, good to see so many of you. And I am ready. I'm ready to get into the hot topics. But I want to give a shout out to a couple folks. I see Roxy Daly Austin is joining us. And I see Mahes Ramjatan is watching as well. I see, is it Dispin French? Don Raymond, Allison Richards, and Sharon Dillon, Andrew Cuthbert. Good to see all of you guys. Shamar Williams and Tony Hack. Guys, I want you guys to share this live stream. Raul Brando, Ramatar. Good to see you. Joan Chase and Jane Ann McDonald. Elizabeth says good evening to everybody. Elizabeth Narayan from South Carolina. Rodwell McKinley Bourne. Guys, good to see all of you. Hope you guys have had a good day. Hope you guys put in the work for the man. Hope you guys have worked hard today and worked with integrity. As you guys come on, do us the biggest favor of our lives and share the live stream. Do us the biggest favor of our lives. Coco, Sharon Shepard, and Samantha Jilks. Coco Brown, and Facebook user no name Lily McGarrell. I see. Let me see. Netta Fraser is joining us from Twitter. Good to see you, Netta, there. Who's joining us from YouTube? Who's in the suburbs this evening? YouTube is the suburbs, and we say Twitter is the belly here of social media. And then you got Facebook. Facebook is the ghetto, people. Facebook is the ghetto. Folks, let me let you know that Mr. Aubrey Norton will be dropping by this evening. If all goes well, we have also Amanza Walton-Disir is going to be stopping by this evening. We have also Coretta McDonald, MP, and the General Secretary of the Ghana Teachers Union is going to be dropping by. And then I think for the first time in the ring, we have historian and Village Voice columnist Ronald Austin Jr. is going to be stopping by as well. So guys, we really want you to share the live stream. As I said, we have such a full program for you, a full program. And so we're inviting you guys to share the live stream. I like what Netta is saying there on Twitter. She is ready to rumble. And we are ready as well, guys. We are ready. Lily McGarrell, are you ready? Eon Winters, are you ready? Kieran Daly, come on down. Marlene Kamini Van Veen, come on down. Anthony's a stepping stone. Anthony Stepping Stone, good to see you as well. Guys, we are privileged. I'm telling you, we are privileged. We do not take it lightly that we have your attention every evening during the week for this period of time, this 1 hour. Sometimes we go a little beyond that, but we are tremendously privileged. We are heartened. You know, it is rather the author Stephen Covey, Dr. Stephen Covey. I know many of you may read his inspirational book. And he says, Stephen Covey says, that to touch the heart of someone is to walk on sacred ground. And folks, you have touched our hearts tremendously every time you share this live stream, by your comments, by coming back night after night to hear what's happening in the ring. Folks, listen to this. I stepped into ATM this afternoon. Was it this afternoon? Yes, this afternoon. And I was minding my own business. I usually know the area where the security personnel is. And as I approach the ATM, she says, "Who in the ring tonight?" Who in the ring tonight? I said, hi. You have to tune in to see who's in the ring this evening. So I hope that she is watching. I was so privileged that she was so kind. I was so heartened. Folks, everywhere we go, lots of places, I shouldn't say everywhere, lots of places that we go, people recognize us and recognize the work we're doing. And we're so privileged, again, that you choose to spend this time with us. So many other places you guys could be on Facebook, but you choose to spend this hour with us because you see some value in the program that we have. Is either that or y'all fast. Let's fight. Y'all fast people. Good to have all of you guys. And again, share the live stream. Share the live stream. You can, if you want to touch us, touch our hearts, do us that favor and share the live stream, each and every one of you. And we say consistently here that part of our role and responsibility is try to get credible information for you, try to make sense of all that happened during the course of the day, all that is happening. And we know there are so many other outlets and there's so much noise out there on the World Wide Web. And we try to distill all of that and to make sense of it for you. Guys, thanks for joining again. And let's get to our hot topics. You didn't come to hear me talk nonsense. Hopefully not. But let's get to the hot topics. Signs of the times, people. It's Guyana we're living in. It is Guyana we're living in. Signs of the times. I want the people at Bath, where Bath Primary School is, to tell me what happened there today. The government had an event there giving out some, I think the Ministry of Education had their what you call it, cash grant distribution, where they're giving a little pittance to families to be able to aid their children going back to school in September. That's how things brung, people, right? That is what things brung. But how people turned up there, you wouldn't think that there is COVID. You wouldn't think, ladies and gentlemen, that there is COVID. Now, I want to bring this up a little bigger for you, so you get to appreciate this is Bath Primary School on the West Coast. Bath Primary School. And so the government has got to be more responsible. The government is breaching its own COVID-19 protocols. That is what the government is doing here, breaching their own COVID-19 protocols. Jennifer Daniels, isn't that so? Marcia Glasgow, Melissa McFarlane, Alicia Joseph, Shondell Simmons. The government is breaching its own COVID-19 protocols. There's a protocol in that regime of protocols that tells us that no more than 10 people should be meeting publicly at any one time. And they said in places of worship, 40% of the seating capacity. Hundreds, if not thousands, turned up. And we understand why they turn up, because things wrong. And our other story is going to highlight that. Folks, as you come on, share the live stream for us, whichever part of the world you're joining us from. Whether you're at home here in Guyana, you're in the diaspora, internationally, share the live stream for us. So this was the scene at Bath. But no COVID bus turned up here. The GDF bus didn't turn up here. The police bus didn't turn up here. The government breaking its own COVID-19 protocols. The install regime. The catfish installation. This is madness, people. It is madness. So the government has some explaining to do. Who holds the government accountable? Who puts the government in the COVID bus and lock them up and charge them? It is you and I who got to hold them responsible. It is you and I. So this was the scene, as I said, again, of the Bath Primary School. Isn't that madness, folks? You know, whether you are a Trenchy, you're an Akavakamite, a Jagabat, a Jebusite, you know yourself. A trench crapo, you know that is wrong. You know that is wrong. Now, if you had seen that as perhaps an APNU AFC event, you all know you all would have been up in arms saying, jail them, throw the book at them, whatever is the penalty for COVID-19 breach. But when you and your supporters are doing it, you call it by other names. And that is not right, folks. That is not charitable at all. No, it cannot be charitable. It is not charitable. But I said to you, Linda McCalmont and Carl Miller and David Wood, Dexter Halley and Colleen Isaacs, Claudette Harry, Claudette Singh, we understand why people are responding in this manner, risking their lives and limb for $15,000 plus another $4,000, risking their health and their life. You know why? Because cost of living. That is why the cost of living has gone up. The cost of living has increased. Rochelle DeCosta, you know we are lying here. Simone Kennedy, Donna Frisco, share the live stream, guys. If you come late, you got to share twice. All to your profile, share to groups that you're in. Adam Prasad, is it not so, Adam? Huh? And Adam is right. Adam says what goes for one. Adam Prasad joining us on YouTube says what goes for one goes for all. He is perfectly correct. And we cannot turn a blind eye. We cannot stifle our conscience at issues like these at all. Right? We got to be fair. And so part of the response you see there is particularly because COVID-19, not COVID-19, rather the cost of living, the two C's, COVID and the cost of living, has gone up. Right? Has gone up. As somebody said today, with this cash grant they're giving, you could buy 2 parcels of Boro. 2 parcels of Boro in the market. And you might get change for juice. 2 parcels of Boro. So, Christopher Ram, attorney at law and accountant, helped us today in a letter to the editor to understand why. Christopher Ram was responding to an announcement by DDL, Demerara Distillers Limited, saying that they are willing to give their employees 6% increase in salary over the next 5 years. And Christopher Ram says where inflation is currently 60%, 6% is useless. Perhaps we have to go to 60%. Christopher Ram says 6% is useless. And DDL is a private company. And he made the point, it isn't any better for the public servants. And mind you, public servants have been promised an increase since the first budget under this installed administration passed last year. The second budget was passed in March, early March, in which the installed vice president said in line item 6141, there is a package there for an increase in salaries for public servants. Months later, people, months later, we are still waiting. We are still waiting. And so automatically you'd understand that whatever increase they are going to give has to go beyond 6%. That is the point accountant and attorney at law Ram was raising. I don't always see, and we don't always see eye to eye with Christopher Ram, but I believe he has done his homework on this subject matter. And so he wrote a very, very strong letter, to say to DDL, this is nothing to brag and boast about because you're giving them nothing. Because they will be taxed on that 6% in a period where inflation is rising. He says inflation currently is at 3.8% going on for, and he says for household commodities, your greens and your what's not in the market, it's even higher. And you and I know that. And that is why we can say, ladies and gentlemen, that with this education cash grant the Ministry of Education is giving out, you could buy 2 bundles of board in the market. And by the time you turn around, that is finished with. So Ram said, sorry, employees, but inflation. And that is a very, very persuasive argument. So the teachers haven't gotten, the public servants haven't gotten their increase as yet, which affects teachers. In addition to that, monies were approved by the National Assembly, including being approved by the opposition members of parliament, like myself. And to date, those monies that were approved for farmers, for instance, have not gotten to farmers as yet. Over the weekend, the minister with responsibility for finance within the office of the president, Ashley Singh, Ashley Singh said they are working on an optimal package. They are now working on an optimal package for the farmers and persons who are severely affected by the flood. Now, this is weeks later. These guys don't know what they're doing. They don't. Folks, as you're joining the live stream this evening, wherever you're joining us from, we welcome you in the ring. We got to fight, folks. We got to contend for the faith. And I invite you guys, wherever you're joining us from, to share the live stream this evening. It will be a tremendous, tremendous privilege for us to have you share the live stream. Ram is right. 6% can't work. Confusion powder. Confusion powder. Ladies and gentlemen, a couple of nights ago, we told you of back-to-back accidents or incidents, depending, of aircrafts locally. It's pocketory. Pocketory. And we told you guys, not a day goes by in this country. Oh, Father, it's not calamity. I don't know. We don't know if it's when Irfan went to Suriname. They said the Aubrey and Suriname strong. It's something. Like he went for a walk. He went for a bathe, something. But since August 2nd to now, some unexplainable events. And these aircrafts running off of the runway, in one instance, the propeller disintegrating, seem to be unexplainable. Purgatory. That is what we call it. When you can't make no more sense, it's purgatory. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the Fisher Bishop, thinking he has the answers, decided recently to wade into this issue. Now, he thinks he has some special knowing or knowledge of what transpired. But we all know he's a Fisher Bishop. He ain't know nothing. And this is what the Aircraft Owners Association said. Private Aircraft Owners Association. This is Fass. Well, not in those exact words, but it amounts to that. Fass, Edghill Fass. The people said there are procedures when events like this happen. There are procedures that are to be followed, investigations that are carried out. Right? None of that has been done. Edghill step in and Edghill said suspend these services. No investigation, but isn't that how they operate? They said they were shocked. That is what they said. They are shocked. The Aircraft Owners Association. He has bypassed all of what has been put in place. In events like these, and he's just stepped in and to suspend. He's asked no question, met with no one. They went on to say, the Aviation Authority, that the CEO for the authority is on leave. Nobody has been contacted. He doesn't know what was responsible for what happened, besides purgatory, and he said to suspend. Guys, as you come on this evening, we invite you guys to share the live stream, wherever part of the world you're joining us from. Suriname, Barbados, Trinidad, Taiwan, Tokyo, Bombay, Mumbai, wherever you're joining us from. Wherever you join, Berbice, Letem, Georgetown, Region 3, wherever. We invite you guys to share the live stream. Welcome in the ring. There was a people's protest today because, as we told you, cost of living, inflation, prices going up. Right? Folks joining us from the diaspora, I'm using this opportunity to say on behalf of all my Guyanese brothers and sisters, you might got to increase the little thing you send because the spending power different now. So if you used to send the higher 50, you might got to increase to 60 because inflation. If I tell you 10,000 is with 2 head of borer, you understand what we're talking about? Inflation. So there was a people's protest today because things going up. The teachers union stepped out today. The teachers union, folks, I was in the barbershop this afternoon having my hair done. And a young lady was explaining to one of the gentlemen in the barbershop that she's having a get-together and that for her birthday, which is coming up shortly, and he's invited. Now the lady wasn't even talking to another fellow in the barbershop. He stepped in front. When is the celebration? Which part of lodge are you living? You know why the man find it out? These days you got to eat out. Wherever free food sharing, you got to get it there. You see the price of boar and squash and so on the market. That is why the man find out. He don't know the woman don't know. He stepped in front. Where you living? What time is the party? What time is starting? What time is finishing? What's the menu? You got to eat out more now. Right? Now, it used to be when you go into a fancy restaurant, you're looking for stuff you don't eat on a normal basis. Well, now you're looking for bora. Yes, stew bora, You're looking for beef. People, let me tell you something. Tomorrow is holiday. Tomorrow is a holiday locally in Guyana. And I'm telling you, I'm eating all the beef for the rest of the year tomorrow. All the free beef for the rest of the year. And so it is because issues, economic issues, bread and butter issues are so dire. The teachers want a raise in salary, and they have other concerns as well. Right? They have other concerns. One of the concerns we shared with you recently is the fact that the General Secretary of the Teachers Union told her teachers not to be sharing out money. That's not why y'all go to school. Y'all go to instruct the nation's children, to mold the nation's children. Don't worry them on money. But today, the teachers went a step further. They went by prayer office and they said, prayer, we want increase. We want increase. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I want to welcome the General Secretary of the Ghana Teachers Union, the Honorable Coretta McDonald, MP. Coretta, how are you doing?
Hi, Sharon. Good night to you. Good night to the ringers. It's good to be in the ring. Let's fight.
Let's fight. Right? So I want fight Priya, man. Right? I want fight Priya.
Sharon, right? Good night to all except Dr. Hudson and the PS Mr. King.
Yes. Coretta, hold my shot. Hold my shot, man.
Wait, Sharon, don't go yet. Wait, just now.
Folks, if you're getting any feedback in the audio, please let me know. I'll try to correct that. If you have any feedback in the audio. General Secretary of the Ghana Teachers Union, put this protest activity in the context for us. Persons might be passing on breakdown, don't know what is happening, might be seeing the headlines in the newspaper, don't know what is happening. Put it into context for us.
Sharon, thank you for having me on this program, and good night to your viewing audience there. I must say to you, Sharon, that trade unions, it is not strange that trade unions protest for better salaries and better wages and better living conditions. It's nothing strange. As a matter of fact, that was why trade unions were birthed, so that they can represent workers who couldn't speak for themselves, who couldn't bargain for better wages and salaries. So what you saw there today is nothing strange. As a matter of fact, let me bring it home. In 2018, we had this. Just the other day, we saw the GPL workers out protesting. They got raised in salary. We saw Gaisuko workers coming out protesting. They got raised in salary. So with teachers being out there, I don't know why this big alarm and why all of this sweating by Auntie Priya. I don't understand, you know, and this thing was such a curse for GTU to be out there. But let me say to the audience here, Sharon, that the GTU would have signed on to an agreement. Again, this is nothing strange. In every trade union that represents workers, their members, you usually sign on to an agreement that talks about salaries and the non-salaries benefits. Some agreements would span for a period of 2 years, some 3 years, some 5 years. Within those 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, there's always a clause which seeks to cover the union as well as the Ministry of Education. So it's the employer as well as the representative of the employees, where we usually say, look, in this agreement, if anything should happen, this agreement will still stand. In the case of the teachers' agreement, there's a clause there which says, until a new agreement is inked, the old agreement stands. So if you had successfully bargained for 8%, at the completion of that, let's say 4-year agreement, in the 5th year, the teachers are expected to receive on their salaries, whether at the start of the year, and that's the calendar year, at the start of the year or the end of the year, that 8% increase. So in December, usually in December, you have your increase in salary. So teachers expect that in December of the end of the year, they would have that increase in their salary, which would take them over to the new year. So when you start the new year, your salary in January would be based on the increase you would have gotten the year prior or the year before. So you start off with that new salary, and then you expect to receive your clothing allowance, your risk allowance, your allowances for additional qualifications, and the whole gamut of works that we have there in the agreement. In 2019, after the passage of the no confidence motion, we recognized that the coalition government, because it was in caretaker mode, there wasn't much that could have been done. And so there was no increases for teachers with regards to salaries in 2019, which took us over into 2020, and now we're in 2021. Teachers did not receive their increases in salaries, allowances for additional qualifications, and the whole set like I just listed. Now, the thing is, Sharon, the agreement is not signed between Coretta, McDonald, APNU, AFC activists, according to Madam Preposition. It's not signed by in the name of Coretta McDonald. It's signed on behalf of the government of Guyana / Ministry of Education and the Guyana Teachers Union, not Coretta McDonald. Fantastic. So every time I've recognized now that everything that has got to do with the union is Coretta McDonald. Coretta McDonald, not elected General Secretary. And so, you know, I need to make this clear, because in the ring I need to fight. I need to put out all my familiarity there. And so it's not Coretta McDonald installed. It's Coretta McDonald elected by the teachers of Guyana, by the tens of thousands of teachers in Guyana, elected as General Secretary. So when the preposition wants to refer to me as APNU AFC activist member of parliament, she's well out of line, and I don't expect better, because since she doesn't know her parts of speech, I don't expect anything better from her. However,
she's a hypocrite.
Yes. However, we usually have, which is statutory according to the constitution of the Guyana Teachers Union, and we abide by our constitution. We don't flout our constitution. We don't use it when it's convenient, and when it's not convenient, we walk on it. We stand by our constitution. And so according to our constitution, we are mandated to have general council meetings the first Tuesday after schools would have been closed. So we had the closure of schools last week, and so this week we are having our general council meeting. As a matter of fact, it was supposed to be last Tuesday, but because we had some hitches with other things happening for teachers, we pushed our meeting to today. So the meeting was on Tuesday today. Coming out of that meeting, the discussions coming out of that meeting, our general council rep, they decided, look, there was this 8-point, the concerns of the GTU. And coming out of the concerns where we talked about, it was a 21-point concerns listed. And we talked about non-consultation with the GTU for reopening of schools, identifying head teachers who have been handpicked to man schools, to head schools, teachers who have been handpicked to serve or to teach in the 2 new schools that we have, the one at Good Hope and the one at Westminster. Promotion of pupils / students. Since we've been through a pandemic, they have not made enough appearances in classroom. Quite a lot of work have not been done, and there was no consultation on how do we promote these children. No consultation on that. We had no consultation with regards to our financial issues, and that's all those back monies that we have been owed. And mind you, when I hear preposition talk about 2019 is not my business, We signed an agreement with the government of Guyana. So whoever happens to be the government of Guyana, it is your responsibility to ensure that the agreement is honored. How are you going to tell me that you're honoring parts of this agreement in 2019 and other parts you don't want to honor because it is not your responsibility? You didn't leave it undone. Foolishness. The government of the day will have to take on the responsibility. And then we went on to talk about the debunching monies that have been owed to teachers, clothing allowance. Well, I went through all of that. Providing updates on COVID cases in schools, you know, all these issues that professional people ought to sit and talk about. We've had, since March of this year, we've had no meeting with the Ministry of Education. And here is it. Let me say to your audience that we have a professional group, and this professional group is between the Ministry of Education and the GTU. Here is where we have the senior officers from the Ministry of Education and the officers of GTU. We're in a WhatsApp group. It's statutory that we meet monthly to discuss issues in education, not to discuss issues in politics, to discuss issues in education. We have not been having those meetings. But you know what I find quite strange is that while the Manichan girl can't find time to meet with the GTU, she found the time today, just after our protest action, to have a press conference. How nice. But again, coming out of our General Council meeting, one of our members stood up this morning and said, and moved a motion, because our reps who attended that meeting, and I must say to you that we have 67 reps across this country. In every region, there are several branches, GTU branches. So those reps would come to the meetings representing their constituency. So those reps, we had 25 of them physically, and we had the others participating virtually because of COVID-19. So one of our reps moved a motion that we suspended the agenda for the rest of the meeting, and we go down to the Ministry of Education officer to have a picketing exercise to let them understand that they have been taking us for granted and they've been taking us too long. They've been dragging us on. Our members feel that this is a direct plot to delay the payments for the outstanding payments for teachers, and it's also a direct plot to punish our teachers because Coretta McDonald is a great force and they can't come to grips with Coretta McDonald. So it's a direct plot to punish our teachers because Coretta McDonald is sitting there. And let me remind the PPP, Coretta McDonald will continue to be a thorn in your flesh. You know why? Because Coretta McDonald never went to the vice president, the installed vice president, when he sat as opposition leader. She never went there to make any deals with him for Coretta McDonald. When he sat as president, she never did any deals to sell out the teachers to get gains for herself. Whatever mandate I went there with from the teachers is what we discussed on the table in an open room where all and sundry were present. So there is nothing that they can tell me. They can't tell me that Coretta McDonald ever come to beg them for anything. So I must make that clear, because I recognize the installed first vice was talking the other day that he's disappointed in Coretta as an educator. Well, you will have to be disappointed in me because I am not on your bandwagon, so you will have to be disappointed with me.
Very well.
And let me just remind them that when the installed vice president talks about Coretta McDonald visiting the office of the opposition leader, I didn't know when he sat as opposition leader that his office was a bad place. And if you invited the trade union, to a consultation to ask them to submit to you names of persons who you think would fit the criteria for the chairman of GCOM at that time, it was where he invited the civil society which included the trade unions. I attended that meeting. There was another consultation where I attended another meeting at the office of the opposition leader. I didn't know that that place was the forbidden garden and I wasn't supposed to go there. If I had known that, I would not have gone. But I went there as a respectable citizen, as a representative of the teachers and the workers of this country. So when Barajaglia wants to open his mouth to say foolishness, I went to the office of the opposition leader. I went there to beg him for anything for Coretta McDonald. I went there to listen to what he had to say and to make our contributions as a trade union body. So let me share that with you, with your viewers, because you notice the PPP, they are good at peddling a whole lot of lies. They like drama. They don't like the facts. And when the facts hit them, you notice this afternoon how the preposition girls sweating at the press conference. When the facts hit them, they can't deal with that.
And then so, they get to the crazy one from Barbie's program.
Yes, and so we went out there this morning to have this picketing exercise because of all of these issues that have backed up. And they are now there. Every month that passes, the monies that are due to teachers, it increases with every month that passes. So let me use a simple example. A teacher just graduating from the University of Guyana, right away that teacher gets an upgrade in status. And because of that upgrade in status, that teacher's salary automatically moves from one level, it would move from one level to another level. That teacher might be jumping 3 tiers or 3 scales. Now, with every month, if you don't pay that teacher, the monies that are those additional monies, they bank up and they become huge sums. And so we have been fighting those issues for long. We have been fighting issues where the CEO, he has not been signing trained teachers certificates. And so we have teachers from since whenever, teachers who are in the system for 15 years, some 19 years, some 12 years, 9 years. And these years I'm talking about are years when the PPP governed this country. So when they want to talk, Priya wants to talk the wasteful talks of not her responsibility. She is just being that, like she says that I am the child who likes to stamp up and throw tantrums. I want Priya to understand I'm not a drama queen. Drama queens, they perform in parliament and they shout for rape. I'm not a drama queen. When I hit the road, when I hit the studios, when I speak with reporters, I say the facts as they are. And so because of all of these issues, we went on the streets today and we were just saying to the Ministry of Education, it's time to talk to us. It's time to have our issues addressed because our teachers are tired. The other issue that we wanted them to know is the fact that we don't want them to bully our teachers to distribute cash grants. I just got messages from teachers in Region 6 where they are saying that they are being mandated to go to Region 5 to distribute cash grants. Why is this so? Cash grants is not the responsibility of the teachers. Cash grant is the responsibility of the Ministry of Education and their officials. Just the same way the Ministry of Education, Priya Manichan, found so many other persons when she was going the GOAL Gold Scholarship. Let her find those same people to go out there to distribute cash grants. We have said that our teachers would be there as part of the process to ensure in the verification process to identify their parents, to say, yes, these are parents of this school, to set up 2 or 3 stations to say, well, okay, one set of parents will collect here, another set will collect there, or they will come here, produce ID cards, we verify, and then they go to the next booth where they will uplift their monies. That's the process that teachers are supposed to be a part of, not to distribute monies. And so that was our reason for going out. That was our reason for going out there today, to indicate to the Ministry of Education that we are not going to take any more nonsense that they want to do. We have seen Sherrod, head teachers moving from just a regular 5th form school to a sixth form school as head and performing and as head teacher. And these handpicking have been done by who? None less than the Minister of Education. And
Change
this is how
from
corrupt
tutorial.
and
Change your friend from
fraudulent.
tutorial. Who should now got us deputy something? Coretta,
I
know.
Corrupt they are. This is how corrupt they are. And they have more movements to do with other teachers moving them, head teachers moving them from one school to another school. And you know why they're doing this? They like to be in control. They like to put the people in positions where they can tell them if they, like, you know, like we saw Spoonie and Dooney this afternoon. Sit there, fold your arms, just sit, don't say anything else. They like to have that, but they can't deal with when you present the real facts to them. They can't deal with that. So just to say to our viewing audience, your viewing audience there, that the GTU we have, and Coretta McDonald, we have no issue with grants that are being distributed. Our problem is don't put these grants on the guys that they don't belong under. If you're going to give a raise to the parents, say to the parents, we're giving a raise to you. Don't tell the parents that we're giving school cash grants, because school cash grants can be termed as educational grants, and we expect educational grants to be channeled in the line of making purchases for educational stuff, not to buy the food and to buy this and to buy that. But you know the PPP, this is their way of softening the public, trying to come into groove into their hearts, because they know fully well that one, they are not supposed to be where they are, and two, the wickedness that they would have meted out to many of those public servants by dismissing them left, right, and center, and who they have not dismissed, they've transferred them very far from where they're living. So they know the kind of wickedness that they've done to Guyanese citizens. And this is their way of trying to bribe them, because you know what? We got a couple of other things coming down the line, like local government elections and so on. So this is their way of bribing people and thinking that people will forget them for the wickedness that they would have done. But back to GTU. Again, Coretta McDonald is the elected General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union. I was elected by the teachers of this country, not selected or not fraudulently installed. And I will continue to represent the teachers of this country, because at the end of the day, I am a teacher. And so whatever we go out there and bargain for, Coretta McDonald will benefit from as a teacher.
General Secretary, I want to thank you for spending this time with us. We have to continue this discussion some other time very soon. Thanks for stopping by. Right? And if they give you problems, you call me. I can punch them in the throat. Thanks for stopping by.
But just to let you know, Sherrod, the preposition girl, she had her spies there, peeping and waiting. And as soon as we came off the scene, preposition girl rolled up to her ministry. She couldn't come there to face us. She rolled up after. That is what she will have to continue to do. Just the same way. You remember in Parliament, when I was supposed to present the next day, after she talked about the preposition, she didn't come the next day, because she knew I had the junior English and the first aid and the student's companion there waiting for her.
General Secretary Coretta McDonald of the Guyana Teachers Union, thanks very much once more.
Thank you for having me, Sherrod. Have a good night. Good night to your viewers.
Have a great evening. Guys, and there you have it. There you have it, the General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union. We got to fight, people. We got to fight. And continuing in the hot topics, folks, we want to turn our attention very quickly. We have our another guest standing by to Haiti. As you guys know, the Haitian president, Jovenel Moïse, was assassinated about 2 weeks ago. Since then, his wife also was wounded. She was flown to Florida for medical treatment. She's now back in Haiti. And we've been talking on this program about Haiti and CARICOM. Rowley offered some very strong comments to CARICOM quite recently. And with that, I want to bring on my other guest, who is on in the ring for the very first time. I want to welcome the one and only Mr. Ronald Austin Jr. Very good evening, sir, and welcome in the ring.
Good night, Sherrod. Good night to your viewers.
I would love if you center us up a little bit there, so our viewers can see this budding diplomat And Ronald, for those folks who are now getting an introduction to him, Ronald is a historian by training, and he's also a columnist with Village Voice. And I've had the privilege, I think, to teach with Ronald at some point in Mays. And I had to leave that institution because I wanted to give him a chance to shine. Welcome, Ronald.
Yeah, I wanted you to stay because, you know, your talents, wherever you are, whichever institution you're at, I think your talents would be definitely valued. Yeah. But here we are.
Thanks for your very kind words, sir. Ronald, we're following what is happening there in Haiti. And if I know anybody who can put this into context for us, you can do so. And so we've had the assassination, as we said, of the Haitian president. We saw what some considered to be a power struggle between the outgoing prime minister and the one who he had appointed to serve as prime minister. But I think what has really and truly set off the former chairman of CARICOM is the way in which things were done recently. So tell us what is happening currently in Haiti, and then we can get into the bit with CARICOM and where we stand there.
Well, I'd like to, first of all, Sherrod, thank you for your kind remarks. I'd like to preface my comments with two very quick, important points. Number one, just in case persons were cursed with a very boring historian for a teacher, it's important that I remind persons the significance of Haiti. I don't like to talk about Haiti unless I make this point. So briefly, we must understand what Haiti represents to the region and the world. This is the first Black republic in the Western Hemisphere. They gained independence in 1807, 158 years before any other CARICOM nation got independence. Trinidad 1962, Jamaica 1962, Guyana 1966. The Haitians were freed slaves since 158 years before. And that decision to challenge or destroy the myth of white infallibility was Haiti's biggest crime. And because of that revolution, the Haitian Revolution is studied around the world. The strategies used by the Haitian slaves, the war strategies, are used in war colleges. Most notably, one of Europe's best general, Napoleon Bonaparte, who came to power in France in 1804, in 1802, while the revolution was hot, he said he's going to settle the niggers, and he sent his best crack generals down to the island of Saint-Domingue. That was the name before it became Haiti. And he was embarrassed, and that remains in the record. The second point I'd like to make quickly before I get into what's happening in Haiti. I am not a CARI skeptic. I believe that CARICOM has a purpose. I believe we should put some licks on them when necessary. I believe we should critique them, but we do need CARICOM. I'm an institutionalist, and I believe we should deconstruct whenever they make mistakes, but we need them. Now, it's important for viewers to understand, Sharon, that with all due respect to the deceased, Jovenel Moïse has been in power for a very tumultuous period. His constitutional time for rule had passed, and there was a lot going on in Haiti at the time. Gang leaders said to him, your time is up, you need to leave. It was wrangling back and forth. And what I think he was trying to do, he was trying to get some semblance of stability, and he was really trying to buy himself some time. And that created unease on the ground. I'm not saying this in anticipation of any justification for his death. What happened to him was absolutely abominable and should never be repeated in CARICOM. But I just want to say that persons must understand that leading up to his assassination, Jovenel Moïse was clinging to power. And the Trump administration, led by Pompeo, they encourage it. Because America, they have no issues with you if you are a strong man on their side. Yep. The record will show, Sharon, that Jovenel Moïse was out of favor with the Trump administration until he recognized Juan Guaido in Venezuela. Once he gave that recognition and he was in line with Trump's foreign policy objective, Pompeo and everybody stood off. And what happened is that the disaffection festered and it festered and it festered. And this is what you have today. But I must say, Sharon, that this thing with Haiti, persons need to understand, this is not a today issue. And CARICOM leaders, I suspect, don't want to touch Haiti. Haiti is problematic and intractable, no fault of their own. Once they got independence in 1807, they had to pay back France $21 billion. At the gun, France said, if you didn't pay this money, we would invade you. Haiti could not catch herself, and problems after problems. Haiti is a very intractable place. I mean, sometimes you get presidents for 6 months, sometimes a president lasts for 2 months. Somebody wakes up the next morning, there are coup d'etats all around. And what is happening in Haiti today is just symptomatic, Sherrod, of what happens in Haiti all the time. It's a very difficult society. The sociology of Haiti is very, very intricate. You have the mulattoes, you have the dark skins, you have issues with color, you have the countryside, you have Port-au-Prince, the city. It's vast, 11 million people, and it's extremely problematic. So what you're seeing today, Sherrod, is an everyday event. I mean, you go back to the Americans had to invade Haiti in 1950, between 1950 to 1934. The Americans were in there. 94 again, America invaded under Bill Clinton, one of Bill Clinton's most shameful legacies. And Haiti has always been problematic. So what you're seeing today is really symptomatic of a very, very fractured and flawed society, no fault of their own.
And Ronald, you've said you're an institutionalist, and you did mention Trump being part and parcel of what was transpiring here in Haiti, but you cannot leave out Biden, because Biden didn't do much different than Trump did, if you want to be fair. And with CARICOM, I want to say that the success and failure of Haiti is to the extent that we have a successful CARICOM. And CARICOM has not done much differently, because you mentioned Haiti meeting with Trump, but you also had the Prime Minister of Jamaica meeting with Trump. I think you also had the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, who were part of that select group of CARICOM, and more so going counter to what CARICOM stands for. So how do we now give context to all of this, with the region watching on? The whole is only as strong as the sum of its parts.
Sherrod, I agree with you, but I am an institutionalist. I'm also a realist. I also accept the realpolitik of what is happening in Haiti. And I'm not trying to cut CARICOM any slack, but Sherrod, it's not as simplistic as you may think. Mm-hmm. Haiti is our Afghanistan. You know, Afghanistan is intractable for years. The Soviets went there, they had to run out. In 1994, Bill Clinton sent 20,000 US troops to Haiti. And everybody thought with the US forces there, things would stabilize. The United Nations had a force in there. In 2002, everybody said that the instability in Haiti has ended when Jean-Bertrand Aristide came to power. Peaceful, the will of the people. Within a year, within 2 years, it was a coup d'etat. He was removed. Clinton sent soldiers try to settle the society. I am saying all of that, Sherrod, to say this. CARICOM leaders would prefer to stay out of that situation. They shouldn't, because the fact remains, Haiti is our problem. It is not the US problem. We, as a regional body, we have got to step up and deal with it. But I rather suspect that nobody wants to run afoul of the US. The US has always regarded Cuba and Haiti as two societies that they want to put their hands and get serious with. We know Joe Biden, again, everybody has the lesson of Clinton. Every US president is cognizant of what happened to Clinton in 1994. 20,000 US troops went into Haiti, Sharon. And by the time they left, there were stories of voodoo and shadows coming from trees with machetes, chopping US soldiers. In fact, some believe that the US soldiers ran out of Haiti because the people they were fighting, there was a resistance. Voodoo high priests got involved. They used to hold voodoo ceremonies. The soldiers were absolutely scared. They ran out of Haiti. I'm saying all of that, Sharon, to say to you that Haiti is not a simplistic. I don't believe there's any CARICOM chairman or any CARICOM grouping or any CARICOM policy that can come about that can change what's happening in Haiti. Haiti will require, in my estimation, Haiti will require an international response in the form of reparation for what happened to that country. A Marshall Plan, as it were, just like what America did for Europe after World War II, I believe that is going to solve Haiti's problems, but that is long term. Right now, you can have CARICOM issuing statements. I'm being realistic, Sharon. The realpolitik of the situation is that every time you go around Haiti, when you go to Haiti and you meet the leader, you sit down and you make agreements. You think that is the person with power you're meeting. Next thing you know, there's some gang leader with the real power. It's a very complex and intractable society. The state, the Haitian state, never has control over the society at any time. It is always the streets that control Haiti. So when you are a sitting Haitian president, I want to make this important point. When you are a sitting Haitian president, it is the most difficult chair to handle, presidential chair to handle. In fact, it is so tough. I was surprised that Moise was taking a chance. When you are a Haitian president, Sharon, you have to deal with the street gangs. You have to deal with the military. You have to deal with the police. You have to deal with members within your own cabinet trying to overthrow you. It's an extremely conspiratorial, complex environment. It's not an easy place to deal with. And I suspect that under Ralph Gonzalez, he knew Moise went past his constitutional mandate. Then you had Rowley. He's complaining now, but we didn't see anything robust from him. I think the CARICOM leaders understand you can't solve that problem so easily. It's an extremely complex issue. I'm not saying the CARICOM is absolved, Sharon, from any blame. I'm being realistic. I am really...
Isn't one of the challenges the fact that there's no longer a united CARICOM, but you have all of these factions and cliques and conglomerates? It was Rowley who recently said in this statement that this core group who was trying to push aside the incumbent prime minister, the acting prime minister, Germany, Brazil, Canada, Spain, the US, France, and the European Union and their representatives. This core group didn't even mention CARICOM, didn't even hint at CARICOM's involvement in an issue that deals with one of our member states. Doesn't that speak volumes of the worth of CARICOM currently?
Well, I would say that it's definitely embarrassing that the core group, listen to me, the core group has their mission. They have their man they want to put in there. They expect to put in there and control. It always has happened. The major powers always find somebody, some strong man or somebody who probably they believe that they can get access to, and they put that person in place. And then, sorry, the cycle is repeated. And that's what happens all the time with Haiti, right? That is what happens all the time with Haiti. The cycle repeats itself. Now, indeed, CARICOM was snubbed, but let's look at the response of CARICOM. CARICOM, Sherrod, I mean, as somebody who clearly you're knowledgeable in these matters, you know this problem with CARICOM is not today. CARICOM was formed since 19, preceded by Coretta 68. And we know that CARICOM suffers some insularity and selfishness. Everybody looks out for their own. Remember, we were once treated as the outcasts of CARICOM where we didn't have oil. Remember, our rich cousins, Barbados, used to put us on the bench. Jamaica had no time with us. We all know that CARICOM, whenever things get sticky, you know, the CSME was supposed to be in place since 2015. I'm on the record as saying, Sherrod, that we're going to continue to talk and issue facetious platitudinous statements and all these things about CARICOM. But CARICOM has a fundamental problem. The ideals being espoused by CARICOM, this sense of one Caribbean, one currency, freedom of movement, those ideals will require the same approach as the European Union. That being, we need a supranational structure, meaning you've got to have something in place that enforces these decisions. These lofty ideas we are trying to espouse will not come about based on the goodwill of leaders. Look at the CCJ. The CCJ served as the barometer for what a supranational structure will look like. Look what's happening with that. You have few persons signed up to the CCJ. Remember, the CCJ serves two purposes, Sherrod. One, it interprets the statutes of the agreement, and it is the final court for some nations. Trinidad, Barbados, everybody said we don't have time with that. Look at the approach to CCJ. My point is, Sherrod, CARICOM has a more macro fundamental problem. Besides the minutiae and microscopic happenings of who's not doing this and CARICOM is silent and CARICOM is not doing this or that, we have to be honest. We have got to sit down again and decide, you know what? We need to temper our ambitions when it comes to CARICOM. Maybe we need to look at other models. But this talk of oneness, Sherrod, this talk of one currency, this talk of freedom of movement, these lofty ideals will not come about until we get some form of a quasi-supranational structure that enforces decisions. Those things are not going to happen. So for me, CARICOM has some fundamental flaws that have got to be addressed. To your point, to be specific to this recent core group statement, I read the statement and I saw the snub, and Rowley is correct. But Rowley himself, he issues a statement. We're not hearing from Gaston Brown, the sitting chair. I mean, CARICOM has fundamental problem. No regional body is perfect, but I remain, Sherrod, as I said in the opening, an institutionalist. I'm not a CARI skeptic. I believe we need CARICOM. And sometimes we can bash the CCJ. We can bash CARICOM when they have done something that is inimical to our interests. But I believe, Sherrod, that these institutions serve a very important purpose. I think they're there, they can help solve problems when you have problems occurring within your country. And we can't just look at CARICOM in terms of its lack of political will. I mean, if you look at natural disasters that occur in Haiti and in the region, CARICOM under CEDA has done some marvelous things. I mean, CARICOM has its purpose. I mean, you can go from CXC, you can talk about the eradication of certain diseases through our scientific cooperations. So there are larger components to CARICOM. I believe vis-a-vis the lack of political will, Sherrod, your comments are fair. More has to be done. Your critique is not without foundation, Sherrod. But I'm an institutionalist, and when it comes to Haiti, I'm a realist. I'm telling you the realpolitik. I think CARICOM understands, and the leaders, they don't have the kahunas. They prefer to allow the big governments to deal with it. It's a headache. So they basically sit back and say, oh, America's going to do their thing. The Europeans are going to do their thing. So your critique, Sherrod, is not without foundation. But when it comes to this Haiti thing, it's very intractable. It's a very difficult situation.
And as part of what Rowley said in this statement, he says by our own actions of now towing and genuflecting to those who see us as unworthy and irrelevant, we are continuously contributed. We have continuously contributed to our own demise, and perhaps that is where CARICOM is currently, in a state of demise. We've talked about this core group, and Ronald, you have said that this core group had their own man. But recently, let me bring us closer to home in terms of relevance. In CARICOM, didn't CARICOM have a core group that had their own man locally that they wanted? So well, is this karma?
Sherrod, again, I'm a realist. Everybody has their man. If you have enough money, if you have enough connections, and if you say to the right powers that you're going to do what they want, and if you are a deal maker, and if you're willing to do transactions, this is the world we live in. If you are prepared to do the biddings of the people with power, and they're comfortable with you, this is how it happens all around the world. This is nothing new or strange. Guyana, we're going on as if it's something, it's a big hue and a cry. This is what happens. It is for you who has power to understand how these things operate and to protect and guard against it, not to allow it to lash you. And when it lashes you, you cry and say, oh, this and that. This is the world. This is what happens. People make deals. Everybody has their man or their woman. You know, I don't want to be sexist. So everybody has their person. If you talk the right talk, if you talk to the right persons, if you come to the table and you say, this is what I'm going to do for you, you can acquire power. It's a truth. It's a reality. This is a realpolitik. So when it comes to Guyana, I don't believe Guyana is exempt from that in any form or fashion. I have no evidence before me to say whether or not when it came to Guyana, there were any deals made. I have no evidence. But all I'm saying to you is based on the general trends of history and the general trends of geopolitics and the general trends of how nations interact. It is not far-fetched to come to the conclusion that yes, people have their man, have their person that they want to have in place. When it comes to Guyana, again, I'm a historian, I'm an academic, and I like to go on evidence. I have no evidence that anybody made any deals. But I'm saying to you now that based on the trends of history, based on the trends of geopolitics, it's not far-fetched to conclude that indeed the major powers had or have their man. Because this is what happens. I'm being realistic here. It happens all the time. Every single society you go around the world, whether you go to Africa, Asia, every single time the bell rings for an election, the world capitals begin to move. Right now, in the post-oil discovery period, we as Guyanese, I don't think we are alive to the fact how important this country has become. If things go awry here, the risk that is faced by one of the largest oil giants in this world could disrupt global security. So anything that happens there, if an ant runs across Regent Street, Washington wants to know, Brussels wants to know, Beijing wants to know. It's not like back in the days. So I'm saying all of that to say this to you. Guyana is not exempt from these happening, Sharon, and giving you the realpolitik of the situation. It's just another day under the sun. Just another day.
Ronald, finally, the ambassador from Antigua and Barbuda, Ron Saunders, he had said that his preference was for CARICOM to deal with the Haitian issue with some institutional strengthening and capacity from the international community to get the work done. Clearly, the international community have not been listening to us and CARICOM and anybody. There's an impending new Prime Minister, President of Haiti, sometime during the course of this very week. Is this problem going to be solved anytime soon, or where does CARICOM go from here to get back on track with some semblance of an international image? Because clearly the events over the last 72 hours tells us that we are nowhere close on the international scene.
Sharon, two things. When it comes to the Haiti problem, I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but that is not solving for just now. The core groups, they're gonna put somebody in there, he's gonna rule, somebody will overthrow him, you'll have a coup d'etat. These problems run so deep, historical and sociologically extremely deep. It's not going to be solved for just now. Haiti is intractable at this point. It is our Afghanistan. Secondly, CARICOM, Sharon, has always struggled to have a uniform foreign policy. I mean, the time that we probably had a uniform foreign policy, if my memory serves me correct, was the invasion of Grenada, the whole Maurice Bishop affair. That time we were uniform. But at that time, you had some very strong leaders. You're talking about Forbes Burnham, you're talking about the Manleys, you're talking about probably Errol Barrow and those strong foundations. Yeah, those people are absolutely indefatigable. But I'm saying to you now that CARICOM, to return to any semblance of any worth in terms of making your voice heard and holding a firm position, that's not going to happen, Sharon. Right now, I can say to you, as we say in Guyana, it is dog eat dog, ya you ya me. COVID-19 has ravaged those societies. Tourism has completely been wiped out.
Yeah,
these countries are scrambling for survival, and now is not the time, Sharon, where are you going to find anybody talking up? And even by the standards of CARICOM, the two leaders who have stood up to the Trump administration in a significant way, it is Mia Motley and both Ralph Gonzalez. They were two persons who refused to go to the meeting when Pompeo invited them to pick off CARICOM leaders to come to Miami. Mia Motley said, I'm not going. Ralph, they held a position. Of course, Ralph is seen as leftist, and he's always siding with the Cubans and so on, and he's always with Taiwan and the whole thing. Now, CARICOM, for CARICOM to come back to that standing, Sharon, they're going to have to be unified on major issues. And that is not going to happen now. They're at their weakest. Their economies are at the weakest. And leaders will carry their bowls to whichever capital is offering some kind of help. In that kind of circumstance, in that kind of context, Sharon, I am not so optimistic that you're going to get a robust CARICOM at this point, because nobody is going to say, let us challenge America. Let us tell the core group to stay out of Haiti. Nobody's going to do that. Remember, the core group is made up of the powerhouses, Brazil, the European Union, the United States, big powers. Right now, I must say to you, nobody, I don't think, has the appetite right now. I mean, you could look to CARICOM and see the very strong and key faces of CARICOM. I mean, as much as we want to, Ralph might not be our friend, but he remains one of the key faces within the CARICOM regions, Mia Motley. The person who has a lot of respect in CARICOM, or who always stays silent, I don't know if you observe, he says nothing. This is the Jamaican Prime Minister. I can't remember his name right now. The Jamaican Prime Minister, he never says anything. He is a significant voice within CARICOM. He's one of those respected leaders. Andrew Holness. He is one of the recognized faces. He never says a word. All the things happening in CARICOM, even during Ghana's 5-month electoral impasse, he didn't say anything. He's silent. So when you look at the leaders within the region, Gaston Brown running Antigua and Barbuda, economy is in trouble. You're not going to get any robust revolutionary type leadership from him. Ralph is trying to catch his tail. Mia is trying to catch her tail and stabilize her society. Everybody right now, I think, they're focused on their societies. And CARICOM has always been very insular. And if there is ever a time where insularity is justified or might be at its most intense, it is now. So to ask CARICOM now to be unified in their positions vis-a-vis whatever geopolitical issues that are going on, or vis-a-vis the major power, I'm not so sure you're going to get that now. So CARICOM return to that place where you have a unified position and everybody holds firm on an issue, I think it's going to be difficult. As a chair of CARICOM, Gaston Brown knows his challenge. He already has big story with Ralph. They don't talk with Ralph, and he has big story with Mia. Remember, he believed it. Yeah, remember he believed that they tricked him. Yeah. So he's in a very tough spot within his 6 months chairmanship. He can't get Mia Motley. Well, I shouldn't say can't, because in politics things can happen. But I can't see him getting Ralph and Mia to sign on to any statement of a unified position. They have big story, and he's a person, his mouth goes off.
Ralph and Mia seem to be a core group.
Right, Ralph and Mia. I think Ralph and Mia, they're playing very smart. Nobody, Sharon, wants to come out as being a major voice or a player on that Haitian issue. They know it's intractable. I mean, Mia is extremely well read. She knows about Haiti. I mean, anybody who reads about Haiti, beginning from the Black Jacobins by C.L.R. James, the Revolution. Haiti revolution was a blessing and a curse in 1807. While it made Haiti the first free Black republic in the Caribbean, it also ushered in a spirit of revolution that has not left the island. They're always in revolutionary mode. That thing, I mean, all respect to my Haitian brothers and sisters. I respect them for what they did in history. I respect the fact that they destroyed the myth of white infallibility. And I respect the fact that they encouraged slaves to fight for their freedom, because it's not by accident. After that 1807 successor revolution, we had rebellions in Demerara here, 1823. We had Barbados 1816. We had Jamaica 1831. So I love my Haitian brothers for what they did. They're the reason we're free today. They gave us enough encouragement to challenge the whites. But at the same time, Sharon, all the world major powers have got to be blamed. Every single one of them. Spain, France, America, especially France, on what they did to Haiti. They've got to be blamed. They created that mess. It is not going to go away easily. And in all fairness, CARICOM, Sharon, CARICOM is not going to solve that. CARICOM can't solve that. It has to come from a global effort involving CARICOM. It's a massive effort. And frankly, nobody wants to make it their mission while in office. Remember, when you come to power as a president or a prime minister, you're thinking that I got 5 years to keep this chair. And if you decide you're dealing with Haiti, Haiti will drain you. It is just like Guyana and Venezuela. Anybody who has been past presidents, if you read their writings and you talk to past foreign ministers, will tell you the Venezuela unfair claim in Guyana drains you at any level of government. Haiti, Sharon, will drain you as a prime minister or president. It's intractable. Yeah, it's our Afghanistan. You would meet based on my readings, and I've never gone to Port-au-Prince, but I paid close attention to this issue, and I've read extensively on the matter. And you would go to Haiti, Sharon, and you would meet a president. You would meet somebody who you think has the sovereign power of the people, and you would sit down and make an agreement with him. And by the time you fly back to your world capital, a street gang leader says he has no time with this agreement, and we're going to remove that president from power because he signed an agreement. And next you know, the whole street's filled with people. Next you know, it's a coup d'etat. It will drain you. You don't know who to talk with. You don't know where the power lies. It's what you call asymmetrical power. The state really has no power. In Haiti, you would see a president, you see a cabinet, but then the street gangs have the power. Somebody in the military has the power. Somebody within the police force has the power. So the president would want to make decisions. But by the time he makes those decisions, he has to study how the gang leader is going to take it, how the police leader is going to take it, how the military leader is going to take it. And it is hard to govern that. Now, if you are president of Haiti, you can't get these functions to the table, much as somebody outside of Haiti trying to get that done. Two things I think will happen based on my readings of history. A society such as Haiti, Sharon, I am not a person who believes in dictatorship. I'm not a person who believes in a strong man. I believe in democracy, but history teaches us a society like Haiti will require some real powerful leader to, just like what Saddam used to do. I mean, I'm not a fan of Saddam, but being realistic, in Iraq, Saddam had a grip on Iraq. Right, and the minute Saddam Hussein came out of power, all chaos broke loose. Yeah. And American officials say quietly, you know, we should have left this man in power. What did we do? Yeah. Haiti, Sharon, will require some leader who is going to knock sense into the factions. And I got to be careful with that, because Haiti has a history of, you know, the Papa Doc regime. You know what Papa Doc and Baby Doc. Yeah. And you know how the Tonton Makouts, the secret police, they used to make people disappear and chop off heads and all those things. So I gotta be careful with that statement. Haiti will require somebody who has real influence. I mean, the closest we came to that, Sherrod, was Aristide. Jean-Bertrand Aristide, who came to power by the will of the people, was the best hope for Haiti. And everybody thought that this was the stability we're looking for. Lo and behold, within 2 years, Aristide is thrown out in a coup. Yeah. Clinton sends the troops, gets him back in power. Aristide end up on a plane, the Americans again, and the Americans, Sherrod, have always tried to dominate and control Haiti. They want their man. And it's intractable. So I'm saying, Sherrod, CARICOM and CARICOM leaders, I mean, in all due respect to some very good leaders in CARICOM, some very knowledgeable leaders, I don't think they have the appetite to this moment, they have the wherewithal, they have the patience, or they have the energy to solve Haiti, Sherrod. They can start, they can talk, they'll hold a conference when the COVID-19 restrictions. So they'll probably meet somewhere in Britain. They have lofty statements, grandiloquent speeches will be made. Haiti is our brothers and sisters, and Haiti means a lot for this region, and we should see. And it's just talk. Right. Everybody will go back to their office and back to square one. So I'm saying to you, Sharon, Haiti, two solutions to Haiti, in my estimation. One, a strong leader who knits the societies together. I don't know where that leader is going to come from, but history teaches us that when the internal contradictions mature, some leader will emerge. That's solution one. Second solution, a grand global master plan, not a CARICOM heads of government meeting, but a G7 meeting where CARICOM is invited to discuss Haiti. When that occurs, Sherrod, then we're talking about serious movements on Haiti, because Haiti requires a Marshall Plan, reparations. Those people lost all their wealth and they could not build that society. It is no fault of their own. The world owes the Haitian people, and no amount of band-aids, you put on a band-aid here, you put on a band-aid there, is going to solve the deep sociological, historical issues within that society. It's a disparate society, different groups. I'm not saying desperate, I'm saying for your viewers, disparate, meaning everybody in their corner, as you say in Guyana. So yeah, it is not that easy. It's very intractable. I'm not saying it cannot be solved. I mean, look at what happened in the case of Afghanistan. Remember, the US invaded in 2001, 2011, right, 2011, to solve the issue of terrorism. They ran out. This is now they came out of Afghanistan, and the group that they said was a ragtag army, we're going to bomb into non-existence. The Taliban, they had to sit and negotiate with the Taliban. The Taliban are now running the society and now got the central government on their knees. My point to you is, I don't know, some persons might say, oh, Mr. Austin, you are, you know, you're being a little far-fetched with comparing Haiti to Afghanistan. But for all intents and purposes of this discussion, for an example, to illustrate the point that it's a difficult society, I draw attention to Afghanistan.
Fantastic. Ronald, we have to leave our discussion there. We've gone into overtime just a little bit, and I want to thank the hundreds of persons who've stuck around because this discussion is so interesting. I wish we had some time to go into CARICOM's role in what happened in December last at the OAS, where you had several CARICOM countries moving against Trinidad. We had a chance to discuss that in the context of the demise of CARICOM. And I hope the next time that you come on, we can talk about that and some other issues in the Caribbean region.
Anytime, Sherrod. Always ready for, I will come on your show because you are a person, you engage in constructive criticism. You are not a one-man show, you don't direct the show, you don't have one narrative, you allow persons to critique you. And whenever there's a show that has that kind of flavor, I will be there. You know, I will definitely come because I know you and I, we respectfully differed on the position, but yet still we had a fruitful discussion. And that's why I hope our national conversations to be more like this. And once you allow me to dissent and allow me a hearing, I'll be here. And I know we would not always disagree. And by the way, I'm not North, you're not South on this matter. I hope you get what I'm saying.
Definitely.
Right. So anytime, Sherrod. It was lovely. It was wonderful. Anytime.
Have a great evening, and thanks again for walking us through these, as you said, intractable issues when it comes to Haiti and giving lots and lots of context and clarity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Sharon.
All right, folks, and there we have it, folks. The historian, the one and only Ronald Austin, who is also a columnist with Village Voice on the issue of Haiti, folks. And Ronald said it best, I think. This is why we have created In the Ring. We don't care, as we often say, whether you are PPP, whether you are TUF, you are AFC, you are LGBTQ, whoever you are, all are welcome in the ring. But when you come here, you gotta fight. You got to fight, folks. Nothing comes easy. You gotta fight. And we thank you for spending this time here with us. We are going to see you guys back right here tomorrow. Tomorrow's a holiday, but we're going to be on nonetheless. Great to see each and every one of you guys. COVID is real, and we encourage you guys to social distance, to wear your mask, to sanitize. This is why we have created this program, guys, that you can have good content, that we can have good discussions, that we don't just come and laugh and feel nice, and then we go back with the same old ideas and thought processes, that we come and we contend with ideas, and that the best ideas rise to the fore and our country moves forward positively in that manner. We're frightened, y'all, and we hope y'all are frightened us. Thanks for staying with us. Again, so many hundreds of you gone way past our program time, but often we do this because the content of the program is so rich. We want you guys to benefit as much as possible. As you go, share the live stream, and those persons who are coming back to watch us later on, share the live stream as well. Folks, if you are still here and you didn't share the live stream, you're wicked. You're wicked. You're a jackabat. Share the live stream and change that. Thanks for joining us. Stay safe, folks.